Hello, good evening, and welcome to HW News English. I am Shubham Chauhan. Welcome to this live. Now, the big news that's come this evening is that the Election Commission of India has made the data of the electoral bonds public. Remember, now this has been an issue that's sort of gained ground again in this week, especially. This week was the deadline when the State Bank of India had to give the data to the election commission, and the election commission had to put it out. The election commission just this evening at around 8 p.m. has made the data public. Now it's an exhaustive list. I will quickly take you through how this is panned out. So at around 8 p.m. there were two files that the election commission put up. The first was a list of purchasers. Remember, the Supreme Court had very clearly asked the SBI to provide a list of the donors and the parties that have got these bonds. So the first file that was put out by the Election Commission was of the purchasers, that is the companies that have bought these electoral bonds. Now this both these files, the two files that the Election Commission has put up, and both of them are quite exhaustive. The first file, which is the list of purchasers, has runs into 337 pages. The second contains the name of the political parties which encash these bonds. Now this PDF runs into 426 pages, and the record of electoral bonds is from April 2019 to Jan 2024. So almost a 5 year period that consists of who are the individuals and the companies that have bought the bonds, and B, which are the political parties that have encashed the bonds. Now it's been a couple of hours since this list came out, and we've been sort of taking this time to skim through. Like I said, it's an exhaustive list, so we've just skimmed through as to what are the major findings, or what are the striking observations that come up. So the top electoral bond donors. The first is this company called Future Gaming and Hotel Services. They've purchased electoral bonds worth 1,300 crores. Now, go to social media, there are all sorts of figures flying in terms of the companies, in terms of the specific figures that the companies have, the bonds that the companies have purchased, and the political parties, the amount that they've got. So the first is Future Gaming. The amount is roughly 1,300 crores. This now interestingly, this company has been investigated and charge sheeted by the enforcement directorate during this period when they sort of purchased these electoral bonds. The second is a company called Megha Engineering and Infrastructure Limited. They have purchased electoral bonds worth 980 crores. Now it's important to note here that these two files that have been put out are these independent files. So like I said, the first file has the list of companies that have purchased these electoral bonds, and the second is just a list of political parties that have encashed these bonds on which date. It's important to note that which donor, which company, or which individual donated to which political party, this hasn't been mentioned anywhere. Officially, this hasn't been mentioned anywhere. Remember, this was in the recent hearing that came up with the Supreme Court, where the SBI, almost at the 11th hour, was calling for more time in terms of collating the data. They said that they want to match these two silos and put up. The Supreme Court said nothing doing. Our order is very clear. You have to give the list as per our order. So these lists, the names of the companies and the political parties, there is no official document that's been put out by either the SBI or the Election Commission as to which company gave to which political party. In fact, we have attached the link of the Election Commission website that has the full list that you can go through. Both these PDFs that I'm talking about, this has been published on the official website of the Election Commission. So, like I said, the top two electoral bond donors, these are the key takeaways. First is a company called Future Gaming. They've purchased electoral bonds worth 1,300 crores. Now, it's not clear as to which political party did this company gave it to. The interesting part is that this company has been investigated and charge sheeted by the Enforcement Directorate during the period. And the second was the company called Megha Engineering that has purchased bonds worth 980 crores. Now, in the list of political parties that have encashed the bonds, the biggest and the most prominent name, as has been sort of been expected and pretty much been made obvious, that Bharatiya Janata Party is the biggest beneficiary of these electoral bonds. Right. While I was speaking about the companies, there are other companies as well, like Torrent Power, Bharti Airtel, DLF Commercial Developers, and Vedanta Limited, Apollo Tires, PVR, Keventer, Sula Wines, etc. Now, notably, two big absentees as far as this list of companies that have purchased electoral bonds is concerned. The first is Adani, and the second is Reliance. Both these companies do not feature directly in this list of companies and individuals that have purchased electoral bonds. It doesn't feature anywhere. Of course, there's a lot of digging that will happen, I'm sure, over the next couple of days to find out are there subsidiaries or are there people who are linked to these companies that have purchased the bond. That's for another day. At the moment, Adani, Reliance Industries, Geo, none of these big players feature in this list, but there are other companies, like I said, that feature and who have bought these electoral bonds. And the recipients of the bonds, like I was talking about earlier, the BJP, there are various estimates being put out in terms of how much exactly out of these electoral bonds that the BJP has got. There are estimates anywhere between 6,000 crores to 11,000 crores. Like I said, there's still no clarity on which company or which individual donated to which party. These are just two independent silos, as the word goes, in terms of which company bought these bonds and which party encashed these bonds. The beneficiaries include BJP, Congress, AIADMK, BRS, Shiv Sena, TDP, YSR, Congress, DMK, the Trinamool Congress. In fact, some of the estimates that have been put out, the BJP is on the first position, of course, and with a huge margin. The second is not the Congress, it's the Trinamool Congress, as per the total collation that's been done by a lot of transparency activists and who are putting out this data actively online. BJP, hands down, is the biggest beneficiary of electoral bonds. The amount may vary, but it's the BJP that has been the biggest beneficiary, as has been predicted, as has been written about a lot. Now you have flesh, hardcore data that's been put out. BJP has encashed the maximum amount of electoral bonds, followed by the All India Trinamool Congress, led by West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee. So that's pretty much it. If you're joining us at the moment, of course, we here at HW News English will be getting you detailed reports in the coming days as to what is the link. Remember, the biggest problem with electoral bonds has been the opaque nature in which in which companies or individuals donate to political parties, giving rise to the speculation that this is a quid pro quo arrangement. So if a company gives money to a political party, especially the ruling party, via electoral bonds, the government, it's reportedly, like a lot of people are pointing out, that there's a high chance that the company will do something in return for these companies. That's been the biggest drawback as far as uh, electoral bonds and the opacity with which these bonds function. The Supreme Court in February had made these bonds, declared the scheme, in fact, unconstitutional, and which is when it had ordered the SBI and the Election Commission to put out this data as is. And in fact, the final deadline for the Election Commission was tomorrow, that is Friday. But the Election Commission has put out this data a day in advance. In a press note, it said that they've put out this data as is, that they've got it from the State Bank of India. The State Bank of India just earlier this week had made a request to the Supreme Court to give them time till the 30th of June 2024, which is after the Lok Sabha elections are over. The Supreme Court categorically rejected the plea. It said that it in fact ordered the SBI to give this data within 24 hours. The SBI, as per some reports, then handed over this data in a pen drive, in a pen drive with these password protected files to the Election Commission. And now the Election Commission has made this data public. Expect in the coming days, remember, this comes almost a day. In fact, there are reports that the Election Code of Conduct will kick in somewhere in the next couple of days, most probably tomorrow. This comes right on the heels of the Lok Sabha elections, political funding, and how one political party has been the biggest beneficiary of this scheme that was brought in around 5.5 years, 6 years back by the Bharatiya Janata Party. This is expected to be a major issue as far as political funding is concerned. Everybody, transparency activists, and a lot of people were looking forward as to what comes out. While it was largely anticipated that there will be one party that will be the biggest beneficiary, which is the BJP of these electoral bonds, The companies, it's the list of donors that were hidden until today, that has now come out. Some of the top companies, infrastructure companies, pharmaceutical companies in the country now feature in this list that has been put out. If you're just joining us before we wind up this live, the Election Commission of India has put out the data of the electoral bonds. It has put out the data that was handed over to them by the State Bank of India. They've put out two files. The first file contains a list of purchasers. The biggest purchaser of electoral bonds has been Future Gaming and Hotel Services. It's a gaming company that purchased electoral bonds worth 1,300 crores and roughly around 1,300 crores, followed by Megha Engineering and Infrastructure Limited, which purchased electoral bonds worth 980 crores. These are the two biggest donors, along with some other prominent companies. The biggest recipient on expected lines has been the Bharatiya Janata Party, with anywhere upwards of 6,000 crore rupees from just these electoral bonds. So, like I said, here at HW News English, we will in the coming days bring you detailed reports and do a lot of number crunching to sort of put these numbers in perspective. What does it mean? What does a big corporate house funding thousands of crores, purchasing electoral bonds and donating to political parties anonymously until now? What does it mean, and especially in an election year where it's sort of expected that all parties will pull out all the stops? What role will the release of this list mean come election time? We will get you all of these reports in the next couple of days. Remember, like I said, this is an exhaustive file. The link to these files has been attached in our description below, so you can check out the full files by yourself. There are two files combined, around 700 to 800 pages. Like I said, it's an exhaustive list in terms of the list of donors of electoral bonds and the political parties. Remember, this is not just specific to the BJP, it's across the board. The BJP, Congress, Trinamool Congress, YSR, Shiv Sena, DMK, AIADMK, JDS, NCP, RJD, AAP, you name it, political parties across the board have been beneficiaries of this. And companies, remember, there are not just one or two companies like many were anticipating that the Adanis or perhaps Reliance Industries, led by the Ambani family, will come out. None of these two companies feature directly in the list. Neither does the Adani Group, nor does Reliance Industries or Geo. So far, Geo, these three companies aren't mentioned directly by name in these records. So we'll end the live here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned to HW News English, because, like I said, we will be doing a lot of number crunching over the next couple of days to bring you the full picture and put this humongous amount of data into perspective and what it means in an election year. Thank you so much for watching. I am Shubham Chauhan. Subscribe to HW News English so that you never miss an update and you never miss any of these reports that we will be putting out in the next couple of days. Thanks for watching.